All right, what's going on, y'all? It's a little bit past 5 right now. We're currently gearing up to get ready to head downtown to knock out our long run, but my legs are beat up this morning. The second I stepped out of bed, my feet hit the ground, I noticed how beat up my legs are feeling, and I'm hobbling around. We had a really good rest day yesterday that I went to bed thinking I was going to wake up with really fresh legs and be feeling great, but it was actually quite the opposite. I woke up and my left leg's feeling a little bit of pain and some niggles that I've not really felt before. So definitely got some beat up legs this morning, but with that being said, still really excited for this run. So for the intra-run nutrition, what we're working with today, I've got this carb pack with caffeine here. I've got 2 BPN Go gels. This is their new mango flavor. I'm super excited to try this flavor out. And then their mixed berry flavor. I love this one. And then Jacqueline, she's doing the 12 miles today too. How are you feeling, baby? You excited?
Excited and nervous.
Yeah. So this is Jacqueline's longest run yet. So she did the 10 miles last week. If you guys watched the video last week, you know that we had 8 miles on the schedule for a long run, and we went ahead and extended it to 10. You know, the Lady Bird Lake Loop downtown Austin is 10 miles long, so we just went ahead and extended that. With that being said, it bumped up all the miles for this week. Part of the reason probably why my legs are feeling beat up, but because we did the 10 miles last week instead of this week, now we've got 12 miles today. So today we're going to do 12 miles down at Lady Bird Lake. Shouldn't be too bad, you know, with the legs, but if you guys watched the last video, you know that the problem I'm having right now is I'm dropping a ton of weight in these runs. So last week's 10-mile run, I woke up fasted at 229 pounds, and then I got back a few hours later from that run at 222 pounds. So lost over 7 pounds on that run, but I only used 2 Go gels. So today we're going to be boosting up the intra-run nutrition a little bit, and then a big part of it is just sweat loss. I'm just sweating a ton on these runs. So today, rather than going through one of these every 40-45 minutes or so, I'm going to be trying to go through one of these every 30-35 minutes. See if that helps a little bit. But, you know, we're trying to mitigate some of that weight loss. I've got to figure it out at least before the 100K. But we're going to go ahead, finish getting ready here. I've got so many of these Gooder sunglasses. I've probably got one in every color now. These are the ones you usually see in my videos. These are the Wrap Gs. I do my own stunts, kind of like a multicolor pinkish lens. And then these are their OGs, the Wayfarer style. And this is the professional responder one. This is, I think, like a pink multicolor glass too. I've got one of these in pretty much every color. But I think today I'm going to rock with the Wayfarers. I've not done these in a minute. But we're going to go ahead, finish getting ready here, and then I'll catch you guys before we hit the trail. All right, we just checked the weather. It's 75 degrees right now. It's looking like by the time we get done, it's going to be probably about 83, 84. So it's definitely going to be a bit of a hot one. But fortunately, it's not as humid this morning. It's still humid, but it's not terribly bad. So you know me, I'd much prefer to choose heat over humidity. So we're good with it. And the trail looks busy today. So that's one of the reasons we love getting out here once a week for these long runs, is kind of mixes things up. And the Town Lake Trail around Lady Bird Lake is really, really popular among a ton of runners, especially a lot of new and young runners. The trails we use the rest of the week are quite empty, which we like. They're a little bit more private, but it is fun to get down here once a week to get these long runs done. So we're going to go ahead, get this thing started. Just 12 miles, and then I'll catch you guys after. All right, what's going on, y'all? We're just a little bit past 10 miles. This has been a slogfest. The first half was pretty smooth, but it is so freaking hot today. And about 50 feet in, I realized why my legs were hurting. I had a leg day 2 days ago, and I guess I went a bit harder than I thought I did, because the legs are trashed today. Quads, adductors, and then my tibia anterior. That's a little bit from the mileage this week, but that leg day definitely did me in. But we're getting through it. A little bit less than 2 miles to go. I've been chugging some water. I'll talk to you guys about that in a bit though. We're gonna finish this out strong. I'll catch you guys in a bit.
All right, just finished up that 12 miles. That was definitely a slog fest. The first half was fairly smooth. You know, I do all these runs off of heart rate, and the first half my heart rate was definitely cooperating, and the second half was like as soon as I hit mile like 5.5, 6, just started slowing down a ton, and then also had a little bit of cramping issues. So this is something I got to figure out before I run the 62 miles in 15 weeks from now. We got a lot of things to figure out. This just being a 12-mile run, I didn't have any official like pain caves, but this is the closest I've gotten to having a pain cave since I've jumped back into running. So it's definitely hot and humid, and I am just dropping weight. I'm interested to see when I get back to the house how much weight we dropped today, but I woke up at 227 on the dot. So it's gonna be interesting to see how much I dropped. I was drenched by mile 3. I think on the nutrition side, I actually think I'm gonna be fairly close on being on point as far as the nutrition side go, but I was absolutely craving salt, and with the cramping and everything, I know that's what I was missing. So that's going to be something I try to figure out next week is, you know, I think today we did a lot better with the drinking of the water and the intro and nutrition, but salt and electrolytes is definitely a missing component right now. So next week, that's going to be what I'm experimenting with. But overall, great run. Jacqueline just got back. So we both knocked out that 12 miles. Mileage is ramping up. I'm going to get back to the house in a little bit and explain the good, the bad, and the ugly of how all of this week's training's gone. But we're rocking and rolling. But that was a good 12 miles. We're going to get back to the house, and I'll catch you guys in a bit.
All right, we're back at the house, and I weighed myself, and no wonder the run was so rough. The back half of that run was such a slog. So this morning I woke up, and I was 227.0, 227 on the dot. And then when I weighed myself, I was 217.8. So literally a 9.2 pound drop on that run, which was even more of a loss than I had on last week's 10-mile run. So this is something I've absolutely got to get figured out, or there's just no way I'm going to be able to finish the 62 miles in 15 weeks. You know, it's going to be essentially just as hot as it is now here in Austin, Texas. So, you know, this is just something I've got to figure out more. There's just no way dropping the weight as fast as I am, I'd be able to make it through the entire 100K. And I feel it too. You know, the back half of that run was way more of a slogfest than it should have been for, you know, a typical 12-mile run, even with it being as hot. You know, the reality is yes, I could be taking in more water. I already talked to you how I need some salt, but you know, my pee wasn't overly dark. You know, it wasn't quite clear, but definitely wasn't like dehydrated pee. I wasn't really that thirsty. It's just showing that at my size, with the amount of mass I have, how much I'm burning. You know, I'm just burning a crap ton of calories on these runs. I'm just gonna have to take in more food. So that's the plan now. Now the plan is on these runs, essentially get my stomach to where I can handle as much food as possible. You know, I want to be dropping in weight, and I am dropping in weight. I mean, that's gonna help things a little bit, help me get a little bit more efficient to where I'm not just freaking burning at this rate. But with that being said, I'm gonna have to start taking some real food on these runs. So I think next week I'm gonna take the gels like I did today, plus probably some hash browns. But you know, I'm gonna have to start getting creative on these runs to be able to be taking in the calories that I need, to where I'm not dropping weight at this rate. It's just too much. But with all that being said, the run was still good, and all the rest of the runs this week were great. I'm gonna go ahead and give y'all kind of a full update now on how this week went. All right, so let's go over the training for the week for us being now 15 weeks out from the Desert Wolf 100K. So let's go ahead and cover the runs first. So this morning's 12-mile run, that was our 4th run of the week. Today's Friday. Tomorrow's gonna be Saturday, and I've got 6 miles planned for tomorrow, and that'll put us at 35 miles for the week. Right now I'm sitting at 29 miles with the long run this morning. So tomorrow we should wrap out the week with 35 miles. I'll go ahead and throw the Strava up on the screen, that way y'all can see it. But last week we did 30 miles, and I believe it was supposed to be 28 miles on the schedule. So we did a little bit extra last week, and then this week it was supposed to be 32 miles on the schedule. So got some extra credit again this week. We're really kind of ahead of schedule on these long runs, but that's only going to help with the 100K, being a little bit more prepared for that. So these runs are going great. You know, overall, my body's feeling pretty good. You know, I had some soreness this morning, like I talked about from the leg day the other day, but overall, honestly, the legs and everything are feeling stronger and stronger and stronger every week. Joints are feeling great. Shins are feeling fantastic. You know, I've been dealing with soreness over this first several weeks that I started running, and that's pretty much all gone away now. So that's killer. And then in the logbook, at the same heart rate, even though it's still getting a little bit hotter here in Texas, the pace is getting faster at the same heart rate. So everything's kind of going to plan. I'm dropping weight at a decent rate, even though I had a pretty massive drop after the run this morning. I will eat back some of that. So I'm looking for about a 1 to 2 pound drop per week. And that's been on point so far. I'm on schedule with that. So I'm looking at probably ending out this week around 224 to 225-ish. But that's going to go ahead and wrap up the runs. On the lifting side, we're going to be getting ready here in a little bit for a push workout, chest, shoulders, tris, and some abs. And then tomorrow is going to be a hamstrings, back, and bis workout. And then I'm going to finish that off with a speed workout on the rower. And that's usually just like a 10 to 15 minute kind of all-out hit session on the rower. But that's going to wrap up this week's worth of training. It's been a very, very, very solid week. Just progressing along. The more miles I'm kind of putting out there, the more I'm seeing it come back. And I'm going to talk to y'all in a little bit about how to run further, how to run longer. And this is one of the points that I'm going to go into more detail with. But the more time I'm spending out there, it really, really is starting to pay off. So, in the beginning when, I was running 15, 20 miles a week, I saw improvement, obviously, but I'm seeing improvement at a much faster rate now that we're over 30 miles a week. So that's only going to keep ticking up from here. But I'm going to go ahead and talk to y'all now about how you can run further, how you can run longer, especially as a bigger or muscular runner or hybrid athlete. All right, so now let's talk about how you can run longer and further. Now, this is going to be applicable to literally all of you out there, but this is especially going to be applicable if you're muscular, bigger runner or hybrid athlete. This is going to be ultra applicable if you're a hybrid athlete and you're wanting to run with some size. And this will also help you run further and longer a lot quicker. So this is how you can get those results really, really quickly. I mean, this is how I've gone essentially from couch, not doing any running over the last several years, to ramping up my mileage to what you guys have seen over the last several weeks, and doing so feeling pretty great. I attribute it all to this. So, I'm sure if you've been in the running space for a while, you've heard that, you should do 80-20 running, meaning you should run 80% of your runs easy and then 20% of your runs hard. I actually think that this is somewhat poor advice, especially for hybrid athletes out there, muscular athletes, bigger athletes out there. You're going to get much more benefit out there if it's more of a 90-10 ratio or even less than that, even doing more of your miles easy. Now, this does not just mean going out and not tracking that. How do you track what easy is? This isn't even, just setting yourself in zone 2. I know right now on social media, everyone's just talking about zone 2, zone 2, zone 2. What I'm going to talk to you about today will put you in zone 2, but it's a little bit more specific. It gives you a little bit more guidelines and rules to follow, and it actually works. So this is essentially what I used back in the day, the formula I used back in the day, back when I first started ultra running. This is what helped me go from, frankly, not being a runner at all, not being a good runner at all, to running a 9-hour, 50-mile ultra, which isn't insanely fast, but it's decently respectable in only a little over a year. So what that is, that's the MAF method. So MAF or Maffetone. Essentially all it is, there's a few other rules that go behind it. This is why I recommend, doing a Google search on what MAF is, but essentially it's 180 minus your age, and that's going to be your max heart rate. So for me being 31, 180 minus 31, that puts me at 149. So then what I tried to do on almost all my runs, unless it's a dedicated speed workout where I'm going out and doing intervals on the track, or I'm doing a tempo run, which once again is only about 10% of my runs. On 90% of my runs, I'm sticking religiously between 144 beats per minute to 149 beats per minute. So I'm sticking within that 5 beats per minute range. Now what happens with this is you start out extremely, extremely slow. This is where most people can't stick with this. Most people do this for a few weeks, and either they get too in their head about their ego, not wanting to go so slow, or 2, the hardness or boredom of going so slow makes them stop. But if you can kind of push through the first little period of doing MAF method, especially if you're doing it here in the summer where you're running hot to where, you know, you're going to be going even slower. If you can push yourself through that, this is where the phrase run slow to race fast comes in. What you're going to see happen. So the MAF method and sitting yourself in that heart rate is going to put you well within zone 2 and is going to put you to where you're running at a conversational pace. You should be able to run and, you know, be able to hold a conversation. That's where, you know, you'll see me running and talking to the camera. You should be able to comfortably have a conversation in that heart rate zone. And what's going to happen is over time, you're going to get more and more efficient at that zone. So you might start out running in your MAF method at, you know, 12-minute miles, or you might be doing run walking where you're, you know, barely moving, and your heart rate will go out of the zone and you got to walk to bring it down. That's extremely common in the beginning of doing MAF method. What will happen over time, the more consistent you are with this, is you'll get more and more efficient at that same heart rate zone. Meaning over time that you'll go from doing run walking or running, you know, 12, 13-minute miles to then, you know, say when winter comes around and it gets cooler, or you've just been spending time training in MAF method, now you're going to be doing 8, 9-minute miles at that same heart rate. So now you're at conversational pace, but now it's going to be so much faster. Then what happens is then come race day, or you want to take it to say zone 3 or do a zone 4 workout. Now that's going to be even more efficient. So this is where I recommend especially for you muscular people out there, you bigger people out there, especially you hybrid athletes, even if you're not overly muscular, I recommend doing 90% of your runs at least in MAF. Now, if you're trying to run a fast 5K, 10K, even up to marathon, you're going to need a little bit more speed training, a little bit more speed work. If you're doing a marathon, I would say 90-10 is still applicable. If you're doing a half marathon, this is where 80-20 might get a little bit more applicable there. You're going to need a little bit more speed work, but for the most part, you're going to get better bang for your buck putting more miles out there in zone 2 or that easy pace or that MAF method pace. The other factor you got to weigh in here that a lot of hybrid athletes don't, and I've talked so many times about the balance between volume and intensity, is if you're a hybrid athlete who truly is maximizing the lifting side as well, that while not anaerobic in the same sense of doing, say, a speed workout on the track and intervals workout, it's not going to be anaerobic in that sense. It's still anaerobic and it's still extremely intense. So one, that's taxing on the body, and two, you still are getting some anaerobic benefit over there. So it's not like a runner who is purely just running and doing, say, 80% of their runs easy and then 20% of their runs hard. You're doing other hard work. It's just, not with the run. So that's where I do recommend for hybrid athletes out there, rather than 80-20 for most of you out there, you're going to get better bang for your buck on both sides, both on the running and on the lifting. If you're more in the 90-10 area or even more, I've gone through seasons where, before the Rocky Raccoon 50 that I did, I did 9 months to a year straight of zero speed workouts. It was just logging miles in zone 2. So that comes to the other part of this as well. You're going to be able to get a lot out of this if you're able to just put in more and more time out there running in MAF method. So whatever your MAF heart rate zone is, like I said, for me it's 144 to 149. The more time and the more miles I can just log in that, the more return I'm going to get. Assuming my body can handle it, the more return I'm going to get. So, this is where, if I was doing 25 miles a week, 25 miles a week, all in MAF, compared to 50, 60 miles a week, all in MAF, you will see a direct response in spending more time, more miles in MAF. Meaning that if you have recovery dialed in, your body is not just getting beat to a pulp, you're not overtraining, you can essentially just keep ramping miles up and get faster and faster and faster progress. So this is where you're going to be able to run a lot longer, a lot further, and you're going to be able to do it a lot quicker if you're able to just go ahead and start logging more and more miles. So this is where I am trying right now to kind of
have extra credit and run a little bit extra miles than what's on the training plan. And that pays off, as long as my joints and ligaments and all of that can handle it, which they are, and I'm feeling great. I'm able to now run further and further and further longer. Now, the other side to this, and this is how you can truly actually run further and longer, is when you're in that zone 2, you're in that MAF method heart rate. You're really, really efficiently burning fat. You're not burning carbs as hard. Which means you can go essentially all day long, or you can go a lot longer in this heart rate zone. This is where you'll see most ultra endurance athletes, so most people who do ultramarathons, even people who do Ironmans, a lot of their training, most of their training is easy or in zone 2. The more advanced someone gets, the more you're going to see them have some speed workouts built into their plan, but most of them too aren't hybrid athletes. This is where if you spend most of your time in zone 2 or doing MAF, you're going to get a lot more out of it. And if you're doing too much speed workout, especially as a hybrid athlete, now you've got yourself skewed too much on the intensity side. And this is where I typically see overtraining happen a lot more with that happen than people who are just running more and more and more miles in zone 2 or MAF. So the whole point here is if your goal truly is to be able to run further, longer, and do that, with faster progress, get to where you can actually run longer and longer miles, more miles faster, you're going to get more benefit, especially as a hybrid athlete, sticking in your MAF heart rate zone religiously. And this is where you've got to go ahead and drop the ego. So, me being out there on the trails today, I'm not running near as fast, obviously, at my weight than I did back in the day. With that being said, does it bother me at all? No, you got to go ahead and drop the ego with this. If you're a hybrid athlete and you're a muscular person anyway, more often than not, you're going to have all the runners on the trail are out there gawking at you anyway. I can't tell you how many times today I had people fist bump me, people making comments, doing double takes. You're going to get more positive looks anyway from it. But even if you're not that muscular yet, you don't feel confident within your body and you're having to say walk a lot more, the reality is nobody out there cares anyway. Everybody's focusing on their own training. Nobody's out there judging other people for walking. Everybody's got to start somewhere. So the point here is drop the ego, be willing to go slow in the beginning, because if you're willing to go slow in the beginning and live religiously in this heart rate, right out of the gate. So right out of the gate, you're going to be able to go further than what you thought possible. This is where Jacqueline has zero running background, literally zero running background. Up to six weeks ago, she had never run really in her life. She had done, a few runs here, in high school or whatever, but she had never actually been a runner. And then this morning she's done 12 miles. Tomorrow she'll have 35 miles for the week. That's all from her sticking religiously within her MAF heart rate. And it's also showing within her logbook as well. One, she's able to now run further and she's feeling comfortable doing that. But then two, she's getting faster at the same heart rate. So it's paying off. So the point here is if your goal is to become, say, an endurance hybrid athlete, and you truly are trying to run further, you're trying to run longer, you're going to be able to do so right out of the gate if you use the MAF method. So go ahead and look up the Maffetone method, 180 minus your age. That's going to be your max heart rate you want to hit. If you go outside of that, that's where you need to slow your pace down or even go down to a walk to let the heart rate cool down. And you'll stick essentially within that 5 beats per minute range below that. And just stick there religiously and do that, and then log as many miles as your time, schedule, and frankly your body and recovery allows. And that's where your progress will essentially speed up with your ramp up of mileage. So you're going to get more out of it the more miles you log essentially. And if you start out in the beginning, your miles might be slow. It might take you a while to get all those miles in, but if you're willing to log a lot of miles, you're going to get the results quick. That's how I was able to progress really, really quickly years ago as an ultra runner. Is even though I was slow in the beginning, I essentially was able to just go out there and just log miles and miles and miles. So assuming you can do that, you're going to be able to progress really, really quickly, and right out of the gate, you're going to be able to run a lot further, a lot longer. But that's my biggest piece of advice. Look up the MAF method. It's going to be a game changer for you
if your goal is endurance running, especially as a hybrid athlete. If you're a hybrid athlete, you know, all my clients, the hybrid athlete clients that I have that are focused on endurance, I put them religiously on the Macatone method, and I track their heart rate. It is very, very, very crucial if you want that fast progress. And then two, when laying out your weekly training split and your run schedule and all that, if it's got, you know, 80% easy runs, 20% hard runs, if you truly are a hybrid athlete that's maximizing the lifting side as well, I would scale that back to more 90-10, or even if you're just trying to be an ultra endurance runner, pull that back to 90-10, or even less than that. You know, do most of your runs easy in the MAC method, and you're gonna get more out of it. If you're wanting to run fast half marathon, fast marathon, you know what you need to do anyway as far as speed workouts go. But, you know, just assuming you're wanting to run a lot longer, a lot further, and get that result a lot quicker, this is the way to do it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's going to wrap up 15 weeks out from the Desert Wolf. Everything's clicking along. There's going to be another big week coming up here, and then I believe we've got another 2 more weeks of ramping up before I'm going to have my first little deload week from running. Now, the deload week, I looked at it the other day, is only like, I think, a 6-mile pullback or something like that. So it's not even a big deload, but we're ramping things up. I believe next week we might even be at over 40 miles for the week. So we're rocking along. Lifting is going great. The bodybuilding side is going great. And then on the rowing side, I know last update video was the first time adding that in. That thing is kicking my ass. But I'm enjoying it. So going to continue that for about 2 times per week. I did it once the other day. I'm going to do it again tomorrow. But everything's rocking along. If you got any comments, any questions, please drop them down below. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. Be happy, be positive, be powerful, and have a great rest of your day.